What's good, guys? So in today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use Jupyter Notebook. Jupyter Notebook is used by data scientists for data exploration, visualization, documentation, and machine learning workflows. So there are actually two ways of opening Jupyter Notebook. You can use Anaconda Navigator, or you can load your Jupyter Notebook from your command prompt. So I'll leave a link in the description on how to download and install Anaconda. So once you open your Anaconda, you scroll down a bit. Then you click on Launch to launch your Jupyter Notebook. Afterwards, you can minimize it. So your Jupyter Notebook will open through your default browser. So my default browser is Mozilla Firefox. So once you open Jupyter Notebook, it will take you to your default local drive. So this is my local drive, and inside my local drive is this folder called codesimp, and I already have two notebooks I've created. So in this tutorial, I'll be taking you through the basic commands you need to know in Jupyter Notebook. So I'll start by showing you how to create a new folder. So to create a new folder, you have to right click on an empty area inside your notebook. Then you can see new folder here. So you click on new folder to create a new folder. If you want to create a new notebook, you click on new notebook to create a new notebook. If you want to create a new file, that's a text editor, you click on new file to create it. So let's create a new folder. So after creating a new folder, you can rename our folder to, let's say, Jupyter Notebook Navigation. Then you press enter to save the name. So I'll open the folder. So you can just click once to open the folder. So now, so to create a new notebook, you can just right click and click on new notebook, or you can come to new, then you select Python 3 IPY kernel. So once you open a new notebook, you can rename your notebook. So you click on the untitled here to rename your notebook to, let's say, Jupyter Notebook Navigation. Then you click on rename. So once you click on rename, you can see that the name has been changed from untitled to Jupyter Notebook Navigation. So the next thing we are going to do is to run a code and how to use MARKDOWN cells. So to run a code in Jupyter Notebook, there are a lot of libraries in Python that you can use in Jupyter Notebook. So I'm going to run a Python code over here. So let's say I want to run a code. I'll type print hello world. So to run this code, I'll press Shift plus Enter to run the code, or I can use this button over here to run this cell. So let me run a different code. Let's say x equals 5 print x. So I can use this button over here, or the shortcut Shift plus Enter to run the cell. Okay, so to also create a MARKDOWN cell, there are two options over here. So once you click on code, we have MARKDOWN. So if you want to run a code, you select code. If you want to run a MARKDOWN cell, you select MARKDOWN. So the MARKDOWN is basically used for documentation, or to explain the code that you've written down, so that anyone who gets access to your notebook file can interpret what the codes mean. So to create a MARKDOWN cell, you can use the symbol hash to create a MARKDOWN cell. So let's say we are doing data cleaning. You see, steps to clean your data. Let me clean this down. So you can do, you bring 3 star, then we type 1. Check for missing values. 2. I'll just copy this one and edit it. To check for duplicated values. Then you come to steps 2. So you come to 3. So the third one will do. Let's see, fix missing values using dots. Fill now. So I'm going to run this cell. So you can see the difference. So this cell looks different compared to running the code. So let's say I want to run a code that checks for missing values. So I'll say, let's say df equals pd.read underscore csv. employee.csv. Then I'll print df. I'm not going to run this code because I've not imported any csv file. So if I try running the code, it will show that there is an error. So let's say I want to check for the missing values. In checking for the missing values, I will type df.isNav. So once I run this code, it will output for me the missing values in the data frame employee.csv. And also, this is how you can add comments to your codes. To add comments, you use the symbol hash. So you can type checks for check for missing values. So everyone who uses your notebook will know that this particular function checks for missing values in your data frame. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is how to use the quick access toolbar. So if you want to save your data, you can just click on save to save what you've done so far. So to add a new cell, you can just click on this button or press B to add a new cell below. And to add a new cell on top of this particular cell, so this is the cell I have currently selected. So to add a new cell on top of it, you can use this sign over here. And to add a cell below it, you can use this cell over here. And also to delete this cell, you can use the delete over here. And also to move this cell on top of this one, you can use this, move this cell up. If you want to bring it down, you can use this sign. Also, if you want to copy If you want to copy or cut this cell, you can just click on copy, then you come to this cell, then you click on paste to paste it. So if you want to also cut this cell, you can use the cut and paste it over here. You can also use the cut to delete a particular cell. Also, if you want to stop any cell from executing, or if you stop a running cell from executing, you can just click on the interrupt the kernel to stop the cell from running. And also, if you are running a particular cell and it is taking huge amount of time to execute, you can just click on the restart the kernel to stop the cell from executing. Also, if you want to restart the kernel or all the cells in case there is any execution bugs, you can just click on the restart the kernel. This will restart all the cells and run all the cells again. So the last thing is kernel status idle. So let's say I'm trying to run a particular cell or groups of cells or all the cells. This circle over here will be filled once a particular cell is being executed. But once a particular cell or groups of cells are not being executed or they are not running, this cell will look empty. If this cell will look empty, but if there is a cell running, this circle will be shaded. Okay guys, that is it for today's tutorial. So in the next tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the file, edit, view, run, kernel, settings, help, and also how to load a particular data, let's say a CSV file or an Excel file, into your Python notebook. So I'll make sure to see you in the next one. Bye bye.